Imagine walking into like a massive corporate parking lot. You throw on a bright red construction hard hat.
Okay.
You pick up a clipboard and you just stride straight past the reception desk.
Like you own the place.
Exactly. Just to go stare at a dumpster out back. It sounds completely absurd, I know, but that very specific image is the exact starting point for a multi-million-dollar business exit we're looking at today.
Yeah.
Usually, when we talk about high-level business strategy, we picture glass boardrooms, venture capital term sheets, complex financial model.
Right.
But sometimes the most sophisticated blueprints for scaling a business literally start in the trash.
They really do.
So the mission today is to look at an incredibly wide-ranging stack of sources. We have interviews with 7- and 9-figure founders, tech policy briefings straight from the White House, and even advanced AI data strategies. And we want to extract the real repeatable mechanics of how you actually build, scale, and monetize in the modern economy.
And when you lay all these distinct sources out on a table, the underlying architecture of success is just shockingly consistent.
Yeah.
The through line here is undeniable. Because whether you are smashing trash in a warehouse parking lot or you are, say, training a highly complex diffusion language model, the fundamental physics of business do not change.
Right.
You have to isolate a bottleneck in the market, price your solution effectively, and then systematically scale it.
Okay.
The context shifts radically, obviously, but the mechanics of the deal are always exactly the same.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I want to start with what I'm calling the brute force to cash blueprint.
Okay, I like that.
We read about this founder, Kevin, who built a franchise business called Smash My Trash. And he recently exited for $1.8 million.
Which is fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. And his initial go-to-market strategy completely ignored digital marketing. He realized that corporate receptionists at these big industrial parks are essentially just human firewalls. They are, they're trained to say no to vendors. So his strategy was the red hard hat. He just looked like an inspector, bypassed the front desk entirely, and walked to the back loading docks to find the actual warehouse managers who were dealing with the dumpsters.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. It's like a physical Trojan horse. You bypass the corporate firewall just by looking like you already belong on the network.
It really is a masterful circumvention of traditional B2B friction. I mean, he bypassed the theoretical gatekeeper to find the practical operator, the guy who actually feels the pain of the problem.
Right.
But what makes Kevin's business really sing isn't just the hard hat, it's the financial mechanics of the deal itself.
Okay.
Because he utilized a shared savings model, which is arguably one of the most powerful pricing structures you can ever use.
So break down how that actually works in practice. Like, why is it so effective?
Well, let's say a warehouse is spending $10,000 every month on trash pickups, mostly because they are throwing away huge, bulky items.
Like wooden pallets and stuff.
Exactly. Wooden pallets that just take up massive amounts of empty space in a dumpster. So Kevin's specialized truck dries up a giant hydraulic drum, rolls over the dumpster, and literally smashes the trash down.
Just compacts it.
Right, it compacts it.
Yeah.
So because the trash takes up less volume, the warehouse suddenly only needs half as many municipal garbage pickups.
Wow.
Yeah, so their bill drops from $10,000 to $5,000.
All right.
Kevin simply splits that newly created savings with them. He takes $2,500, they save $2,500.
I see. So the buyer isn't actually spending new money?
No.
They're just redirecting money. They were already going to lose to the garbage company, but they're keeping a piece for themselves.
Precisely. He created a financial ROI no-brainer. I mean, there is zero capital expenditure for the warehouse.
Right.
The only objection a facility manager could possibly have is simply not believing that the truck can smash the trash that much, which Kevin solves instantly by just doing a free physical demonstration on site.
That makes perfect sense for a localized service business. But what about physical products? Because we always hear that hardware is notoriously risky.
Oh, very risky.
It's capital intensive. You have to manufacture units, ship them across the ocean, store them, and just hope they sell. Is there a brute force bootstrap method for physical goods that bypasses all that traditional supply chain friction?
There absolutely is. And we see it perfectly illustrated by another founder in our sources named Noom.
Right, the TMJ pen guy.
Yes, he invented a heated jaw massager called the TMJ pen. It's a highly niche sort of medical adjacent device, and he is currently doing about $430,000 a month in revenue.
That is wild.
Entirely bootstrapped, zero venture capital.
Doing almost $500,000 a month without VC funding for a hardware product is just crazy to me. But we have to talk about how he actually got the sales first, right? Because his marketing was completely unhinged.
The rage bait.
Yes, the rage bait marketing. So he filmed this video acting like a total quote-unquote Karen on an airplane. He's yelling at the camera, pretending someone is accosting him for vaping on the flight.
But he's not vaping.
Right. He's just aggressively using his jaw massager.
Yeah.
And the video generated like 100 million views.
That's incredible.
People were so mad at him, but millions of them suddenly realized they also had jaw pain and ended up buying the thing.
Yeah, he engineered virality through outrage, which is a choice, but it worked.
It definitely worked. Okay, back to the logistics, because doing that kind of volume, how is he handling it? Usually a physical product means you are bleeding cash on freight and warehousing before you make a single dollar.
Well, he essentially hacked the traditional supply chain. Typically, you manufacture in an overseas factory, you pay ocean freight, pay to truck it to a warehouse, and then pay a third-party logistics company. Right, a 3PL to store it and ship it to customers. That requires massive upfront capital. But Noom eliminated almost all those steps by physically installing his own 3D printers directly inside the 3PL facility.
Wait, let me make sure I'm getting this straight. He didn't just rent space to store boxes.
Right.
He is actually manufacturing the product at the shipping center.
Exactly. Raw plastic filament goes into the 3PL facility, the printers manufacture the device right on the spot, and the finished product gets packed and shipped out the exact same day.
That's genius.
By manufacturing at the point of distribution, his freight costs dropped to literal zero.
Wow.
He turned a massive supply chain bottleneck into this highly agile, on-demand fulfillment center. He only prints what he has already sold.
That drastically changes the math on hardware. I mean, speaking of the math, I want to pivot back to Kevin in the trash business for a second, because the sources revealed a somewhat harsh reality about his exit.
Yeah, they did.
He had a successful franchise, and he was personally taking home about $300,000 a year in cash flow. A lot of people would look at that and say, you've made it. Ride that out forever. Why walk away and sell for $1.8 million?
It comes down to the underlying debt mechanics, honestly, and the emotional toll of carrying asymmetric risk. When we look at business success, we so often focus on EBITDA.
Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
Right. It's a standard measure of a company's operating profit.
Yeah.
So Kevin's EBITDA might have looked fantastic, say $450,000. But EBITDA doesn't account for debt service.
And he took on debt to buy those big trucks.
Correct. He utilized an SBA loan, a small business administration loan,
right,
for $350,000 to get started, and later borrowed even more to expand his fleet. And the critical detail here is that almost all SBA loans, and franchise agreements for that matter, require personal guarantees.
Ooh, right.
So while his operating profit looked huge, a massive chunk of that cash was just going to the bank to service the debt. But more importantly, he felt the psychological weight of those personal guarantees every single day.
Because his personal assets are on the line.
Exactly. If a truck's hydraulic press fails or a driver gets in an accident and the business dips, the bank can literally come after his personal house.
Wow.
So he chose to exit to relieve himself of that specific risk. He traded the potential for future cash flow for immediate, guaranteed peace of mind.
I see the logic there. It's not just about the money you make. It's about the risk you carry to keep making it.
Exactly.
So Kevin solved his bottleneck getting sales by physically showing up in a hard hat. But the weight of fulfilling that work became too heavy. So what happens when the core problem flips? Like, what happens when getting the customer isn't your bottleneck, but actually doing the heavy lifting is?
Well, that brings us to a founder named Nick. And he operates in a completely different strategic environment.
Okay.
Nick runs an industrial backup generator business that is currently doing $12 million in annual recurring revenue. And they have contracts projecting them to hit $25 million shortly.
That's a serious jump.
Yeah.
How did he build that kind of volume?
Through M&A, mergers and acquisitions. Nick is executing a roll-up strategy. He actually acquired his first generator company just recently, in January 2024, and he did this using a search fund, which is a specialized pool of capital raised from investors specifically to search for, acquire, and operate an existing private company.
And again, heavily utilizing SBA debt.
Yes, very heavily.
So he's buying up small, independent service providers. But in the industrial generator space, aren't you competing against massive multi-billion-dollar conglomerates?
You are.
So how does a small roll-up go head-to-head with an industry titan like Caterpillar and actually win the contract?
The answer is pure speed. Large incumbents like Caterpillar have incredibly complex supply chains and deeply siloed institutional knowledge.
Right.
If a hospital's backup generator breaks, they need a quote immediately. But a giant conglomerate might take, 2 weeks to source the parts, calculate the labor, run it through middle management, and issue a quote.
Yeah, so much red tape.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nick recognized that vulnerability. So to exploit it, he ingested every single manual, parts list, and historical maintenance document his company ever produced into an AI RAG system.
A RAG system, retrieval augmented generation, right?
Correct. It allows an AI to securely search a company's as private database. Because of this, Nick's field technicians can stand in front of a broken industrial generator, pull out their phone, query the AI about that specific model, and get the exact part requirements and pricing instantly.
That's incredible.
They can issue a binding quote to the client on the spot, while Caterpillar is still organizing a committee meeting.
Okay, wait, hold on. Let me push back on this for a second.
Sure.
Because I get the speed advantage. It's great that an AI can write up a quote in 3 seconds and handle the paperwork, but a large language model cannot turn a wrench on a 5-ton diesel generator.
No, it cannot.
You can't just automate manual labor in the physical world. If the machine is broken, who's actually fixing it?
What's fascinating here is that you've just identified Nick's actual existential constraint. His bottleneck isn't generating leads, and it isn't generating quotes.
Right.
His bottleneck is a massive industry-wide shortage of elite field technicians.
Because it's highly specialized work.
Highly specialized. These are professionals who can easily clear 6 figures a year. But they need to understand heavy mechanical systems, fluid dynamics, and complex electrical instrumentation all at once.
You can't just hire someone off the street for that.
No.
Hmm.
So the strategic takeaway Nick realized is that to scale a high-end physical service business today, you essentially have to build a Harvard of the trades inside your own startup.
Building a literal trade school inside your company to scale, how does that actually work in practice?
Well, Nick is using that same AI system to turn every single field report into a simulated training mission.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Before a junior technician is ever dispatched to a hospital site, they receive an AI-generated pre-job briefing. The system synthesizes everything the company's senior techs have ever encountered regarding that specific machine over the last decade.
That's brilliant.
It briefs the junior tech on likely failure points and specific diagnostic steps. They are artificially accelerating the accumulation of human experience. Because if you want to scale physical fulfillment, you must systematically scale the expertise of your human capital.
I love that concept, accelerating human experience. But, building an internal workforce of highly trained W-2 employees sounds exhausting and extremely capital intensive.
It is.
Is there a way to scale without taking on the burden of training hundreds of people? Like, what if you flip the model entirely?
Well, then you build a platform where the suppliers come to you, bringing their own skills.
Right.
That is exactly what Rishi did with his company, Hotplate. Hotplate has processed over $100 million in GMV.
GMV being gross merchandise value, meaning that's the total dollar amount of food sold across the platform, not Hotplate's actual corporate revenue.
Correct.
Wow.
Which would just be a small percentage of that.
Yeah.
But Hotplate is essentially Shopify, but custom built for independent food pop-ups, bakers, and underground chefs.
Okay.
It is a masterclass in bypassing the traditional capital risk of the restaurant industry. Because traditionally, starting a food business meant taking out a massive bank loan to secure a brick-and-mortar lease, buy commercial ovens, and hire staff.
All before selling a single meal.
Exactly. But Hotplate allows an independent chef to monetize an Instagram following directly, taking pre-orders and organizing local pickup drops without any physical overhead.
And looking at their growth mechanics, the way they acquire these chefs is incredibly clever.
Yeah.
Usually, a software platform charges the creator a monthly subscription or takes a massive 20% cut of their sales. But Hotplate shifted the friction. They charge the end customer a small fee as checkout, meaning the chef themselves only pays standard credit card processing fees.
By removing the financial friction for the supplier, Hotplate makes acquiring new chefs almost effortless.
Yeah.
But acquiring a user isn't only half the battle.
Yeah.
How do you ensure those chefs don't just do one pop-up and quit? How do you keep them engaged?
Right.
Rishi applied what a Y Combinator investor coined the Twitch framework.
Okay.
When Twitch was scaling its live streaming platform, they discovered that creators need 4 fundamental things to stay engaged long-term: money, fame, love, and inspiration.
Let's break that down because money is obvious. Love is, the community feedback in the chat. But how does a software platform provide fame and inspiration to a guy baking sourdough in his apartment?
Well, Hotplate realizes their job isn't just to process credit cards. It's done to manufacture aspiration.
Ah,
They take their top 50 earning chefs and turn them into superstars. They produce high-quality case studies, videos, and leaderboards showing an independent chef pulling in $10,000 in a single weekend out of a ghost kitchen.
that's amazing. That provides the fame for the top chef, but more importantly, it provides the inspiration for the 1,000 amateur bakers watching. It proves the model is viable and drives the next massive wave of creators to join the platform.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because platforms like Twitch or Hotplate are great for consumer markets and independent creators.
Fight.
But what about enterprise B2B? Selling software to a Fortune 500 company is a completely different animal.
Oh, absolutely.
We have another platform play in our sources,
Mm-hmm.
a company called Overlap, founded by Jonathan. It's an autonomous AI video agent that edits and distributes content automatically.
Yeah.
They raised a $2 million seed round, they're already accidentally profitable, and they've generated 2 billion impressions. But Jonathan's breakthrough insight had nothing to do with creators.
No, his insight was a deep psychological understanding of the enterprise buyer.
Tell me more about that. Founders often mistakenly believe that selling to massive corporations is a purely rational exercise. They think the buyer is optimizing exclusively for return on investment. That if you prove your software saves the company $1 million, they have to buy it.
Right, which makes logical sense.
But Jonathan learned that in reality, enterprise buyers are driven by risk aversion. They are constantly asking one silent question.
Mm-hmm.
Will buying this software help me get promoted, or will it get me fired?
Right. Enterprise sales are fundamentally about trust and what we might politely call cover your ass metrics, CYA metrics.
Exactly. Consider a VP of media at a large corporation. They are evaluated on highly specific performance indicators. They do not care about a marginal efficiency gain if implementing your unproven startup software causes a network outage that risks their job.
Yeah, it's just not worth it to them.
So if you want to close a six-figure enterprise deal, you cannot just sell efficiency. You have to hand that VP a customized dashboard that unequivocally proves with hard data that they are hitting their quarterly compliance and growth metrics. You need to give them a PDF they can slide across the desk to their boss to prove they are a genius. You are selling career security.
I think so many technical founders miss that. They sell the code, not the career security.
Yep.
Now, it seems like every single one of these modern blueprints overlap, automating video, Nico RG system, generating complex machinery quotes, they all rely heavily on this underlying layer of AI.
You do.
But if everyone has access to AI, how do you stop a competitor from just copying your business model? Looking at the Y Combinator Data Club insights, it comes down to building a proprietary data moat.
The prevailing wisdom in Silicon Valley has radically shifted. I mean, just 2 years ago, the assumption was that data was a cheap commodity, and building a unique model architecture was the ultimate prize.
Right.
Today, that equation is totally inverted. Model architecture is largely commoditized. Everyone has access to similar transformer models. Data is now the absolute bottleneck. Y Combinator pointed out that $100 billion in market cap has been created by data alone.
They call it Data 2.0. So Data 1.0 was basically volume. It was like teaching an AI to cook by letting it scrape every fast food menu and blog recipe on the entire internet.
Right.
But Data 2.0 is quality. It is like forcing the AI to only read Gordon Ramsay's private verified recipe book.
That's a great way to put it.
If you want an AI to act like a senior software engineer or diagnose patients like a specialized doctor, you can't just feed it Reddit threads. You need highly structured, heavily verified data representing the nuanced judgment of top human experts.
And beyond the quality of the data, the computational performance demands are just staggering. Look at another company in our stack, Volo.
Right.
They are building diffusion language models. Traditional large language models predict text sequentially, one word at a time left to right. Diffusion models operate differently. They generate tokens in parallel.
So to use an analogy, sequential is like a typist hitting one key at a time, whereas parallel generation is like a whole orchestra playing a complex chord instantly.
Exactly. Because of that architecture, Volo is hitting generation speeds of 1,000 tokens per second.
Wow, 1,000.
That raw speed is no longer just a luxury. It is a strict requirement if you want to enable seamless, real-time AI voice agents for customer support that don't have those agonizing 3-second delays.
Yeah, those delays are the worst.
The proprietary expert data combined with that raw computational speed is how you build an unassailable advantage.
Which perfectly brings us to the final macro advantage,
Yeah.
navigating the regulatory reality of the market you choose to enter. We have a fascinating policy briefing in our sources from Michael Kratsios, the former U.S. Chief Technology Officer, discussing tech strategy at the White House level.
Yeah.
And he makes a brilliant distinction between two distinct types of technology, born-free tech and born-in-captivity tech.
It is a crucial mental model for any founder. Born-free technology, like the early internet, social media apps, or basic SaaS platforms, operates in a greenfield space without pre-existing regulatory frameworks.
Right.
You can launch, move fast, break things, and scale globally overnight because there is no agency stopping you. But born-in-captivity technology, things like commercial drone delivery, supersonic flight, or AI diagnostics in healthcare, they enter heavily regulated spaces. They literally cannot be commercialized without strict, protracted government approval.
And the briefing highlighted the current White House strategy regarding AI regulation. The stated objective is to foster a commitment to open source AI and establish a single, flexible national standard within the U.S.
Right.
And the goal there is to avoid a messy, contradictory patchwork of 50 different state laws. They explicitly contrasted this approach with the EU AI Act, which finalized its rigid compliance frameworks before large language models even had their massive boom, which potentially locks European developers into outdated hurdles.
The strategic implication for the listener here is profound. If you are building a tech business today, you must accurately assess the environment you are entering. Are you building a born-free product where pure speed to market is your only moat? Or are you building a born-in-captivity product where your actual competitive advantage isn't your code, but your ability to navigate the FDA waiver process better and faster than your competitors?
You have to know the rules of the game you are playing.
Exactly.
And that brings us to our final and perhaps most important section of this deep dive. Because we've covered market entry, operational scale, enterprise sales psychology, and macro data policy.
We have.
But the ultimate bottleneck in any business isn't the supply chain or the AI model. It is the founder's own time and their decision-making framework.
Which is why we really need to look at Alex Hormozy's philosophy on choices and trade-offs. Hormozy points out a fascinating linguistic fact. The Latin root of the word decide is decader,
Right.
which literally translates to cut off.
To cut off options.
Yes. Youth is characterized by optionality. It is the desire to keep all your doors open, to dabble, and to refuse strict commitment. But adulthood, and by extension, mature business leadership, is about making strict commitments. It is about willingly walking through one-way doors and intentionally cutting off alternative futures to focus entirely on one path.
Hormozy breaks life down into 10 priorities: career, romance, health, friends, community, recreation, and so on. His point is incredibly harsh, but mathematically necessary. You cannot min-max all 10 categories.
You just can't.
You literally do not have the hours in the day. You have to pick your regrets, or the world will pick them for you. If you want a top-tier outlier career, you might have to consciously sacrifice time with your extended community. If you want extreme top 1% physical health, your late-night recreation is going to suffer.
He does offer a tactical growth hack for navigating this zero-sum game, which is finding activities that check multiple boxes simultaneously.
Like what?
For instance, lifting weights with your coworkers. That single hour satisfies your health requirement, your career networking requirement, and your recreation requirement all at once.
Oh, that's smart.
But fundamentally, massive success requires massive sacrifice. He also emphasizes the concept of the dominant game theory.
Right. He uses the classic social media battle. Like, why did Facebook ultimately crush MySpace? Because MySpace was optimizing for total registered users, which is essentially a vanity metric.
Yeah.
Facebook, however, optimized specifically for monthly active users. The metric you choose to chase dictates whether you win or lose. You have to ensure you are playing the dominant game.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it beautifully explains our very first case study. Think back to Kevin and his Smash My Trash franchise.
Right, the guy with the hard hat.
Exactly. Why did he exit? Kevin deliberately chose to cut off a guaranteed $300,000 yearly income. He walked through a one-way door to escape the personal guarantees of his SBA debt.
Yeah.
He didn't just cash out for a boat. He cashed out to reclaim his strategic optionality so he could align his time and capital with a better, more dominant game for his next venture.
So, what does this all mean? Let's recap the blueprints we've uncovered. We started with the sheer brute force of wearing a red hard hat to bypass corporate gatekeepers and secure shared savings contracts.
Right.
We saw how placing a 3D printer inside a 3PL facility completely removes hardware supply chain friction. We explored the necessity of building an internal AI-driven Harvard of the trades to solve the human capital bottleneck in a roll-up strategy.
Mm.
We learned the secret that enterprise buyers really just want software that provides CYA metrics to secure their promotion. We mapped out the new frontier where highly structured data 2.0 and regulatory navigation are your true moats. And finally, we faced the harsh reality of leadership, that to achieve greatness, you have to sacrifice optionality and make painful trade-offs.
Yeah.
Applying these blueprints isn't just about making a quick dollar. It's about gaining a distinct, unfair, competitive edge in how you structure your business.
And that leaves us with a final, somewhat unsettling paradox to consider as we look to the future. We just established, through Hormozy's framework, that true adulthood and massive business success require us to consciously cut off options,
Right.
to willingly walk through those one-way doors and make strict human commitments. Yet, simultaneously, the tech industry is pouring billions of dollars into training the exact AI agents we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
Agents specifically designed to maximize probabilities, hedge all risks, and keep infinite options open at 1,000 tokens a second.
Wow.
This raises an important unresolved question. Will the most successful founders of tomorrow be the ones who hold on to their humanity by making those painful one-way door sacrifices themselves? Or will the ultimate dominant game belong to those who figure out how to train their AI to make those agonizing commitments for them?
Now, that is a thought that will keep you up at night. I mean, are we automating our way out of the very choices that define human leadership?
This huge question.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the bottlenecks, keep looking for the dominant game, and as always, keep diving deep.